Then the next one is discussion topic number 4, D4, on page 63. From the definitions of Samatha and Vipassana found in this sutta. This sutta means the one above, Tatiya Samadhi Sutta. List out the salient characteristics that distinguish one from the other, that distinguish Samatha from Vipassana, such as the object or focus of attention of Samatha and Vipassana respectively. B, steps in the process of development. What are the steps involved in the process of developing Samatha? What are the steps involved in the process of developing Vipassana? And C, the end result. What is the end result of each of them? Right? So maybe you could do a little table, on the left column you could write object, like what we did earlier on, and then steps, and the third row would be end result. Okay? Then the second column would be Samatha, third column is Vipassana, and then you come out with a comparison.
For Samatha, the object is the mind. For Vipassana, the object of attention is Sankhara. Then the step for Samatha is, like just now, the simile, make the mind steady, and then settle down the mind, unify the mind, and make the mind compose. The step for Vipassana is how to view the Sankhara, how to investigate the Sankhara, and how to see distinctly the Sankhara. The end result for Samatha is the internal tranquility of the mind, and for Vipassana is distinct seeing of things through higher wisdom. But I wish to add another one is the Ceto Vimutti and the Panya Vimutti, but it is not stated in the sutta.
That one is bonus addition. Okay, thank you, Sadhu. This is quite clear enough, right? So, not much to comment on. So, actually, you can see, although there are so many ideas about what Samatha and Vipassana is, this is very well defined, so clearly defined by the Buddha, right? But how to put it into practice, that is another matter.
There's 5 lay people in our team, with Bhante Arya Dhamma as our team leader, and all of us had the same answer. We said mind. But then Bhante mentioned, when we talk about the object of focus, which object of focus in the mind is not mentioned.
Yes,
So
good.
Oh,
That's a good.
Well done to him.
Let me comment on your answer to D4. Yeah, it's a good thing you brought it up. Well, we can say that the object of focus is not mentioned, but the matter of interest is the subject. The subject is the mind that is looking at things. In Vipassana, you are more concerned with the object that you are looking at. You understand? It's the sankharas. You are looking at sankharas. How do you view the sankharas? How do you investigate the sankharas? And how do you gain insightful understanding of them? Distinct seeing of the sankharas. Whereas about samatha is not so much about the object of focus, it's more about the subject. Whatever object of focus you are using, how is the subject? Is the subject settling down? Is it stilling? So it doesn't matter about the object. It is the subject that is more important. But the object of focus is not stated in the suttas.
Bhante, just back to the question of subject and object. But then if the mind is aware of the mind settling down, wouldn't that, because there are like 2 aspects of the mind, one is the knowing aspect of the mind, and then the object or subject, so to speak, is the settling down of the mind. So there's still object and subject in that sense, right?
The questions asked is, how can the mind be made to stand properly, to sit properly, you know. So he's always checking back to see whether the mind is doing that or not. But he may be attending on another object, on an object of focus. But he's checking to see whether that object of focus works for his mind. Does this mind really settle down?
So in that sense, there's still like seeing the state of mind that is settling down and the conditioning, how it is affecting the settling down.
Not so much about conditioning. It's always checking to see your state of mind rather than being so concerned with the object of attention.
Right, but in the skillfulness in the development of concentration samadhi, there's one aspect also investigating how. That's why it's how the mind is settling down. It's not is the mind settling down or not. It's how. The question is how.
Or how can the mind be made to settle down?
Yeah, so by asking how, you are looking at the conditioning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right,
so
right.
that's why I said that even though we say that the settling down of the mind is a subject, but on the other hand, the mind knowing this is happening makes it also an object.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. But what I'm trying to stress is
Yeah.
that contrary to popular understanding, they say that the object of samatha is only conceptual object and nothing else.
Okay.
But this sutta does not specify what sort of object is used for samatha. So you can use a conceptual object to settle your mind. You can use an ultimate object to settle the mind. You can use anything as long as the mind settles.
Then I have a question related to that. In the suttas, does it define the conceptual object and
Nope.
reality object?
Nope.
That's why that is an abhidharmic term.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in the suttas, it's very clear cut. It's a state of mind. Even if it's the settling down of the mind is a settling of the mind. It doesn't define that as conceptual or ultimate.
No, the settling of the mind is not a matter of whether the settling of the mind is conceptual or not.
Yes.
It's the object that is used in order to settle the mind. Is that conceptual or is that ultimate?
But that is that the Sutanta?
No.
Yeah.
I'm trying
okay.
to.
I know what you mean.
I'm
Okay,
trying
okay.
to dispel,
Yeah.
the misconception that it must be conceptual.
Okay, right.
So this sutta does not specify that it must be this or that. It's open-ended. It could be anything as long as you're able to still the mind.
It's basically like saying, I don't care how you make the mind
Right.
settle down as
yes,
long as you
yes,
settle
yes.
down.
That's why the
Yeah.
subject is more important
Yeah.
than the object. Whereas in Visuddhimagga, it's the object that is of utmost importance. It must be a conceptual object, one of the 40 objects, nothing else. Okay.
Bhante, I just wonder, I try to think quite sometimes already. I couldn't understand why the unify the mind come first before the compose. Because the compose, the fourth step that you use, the note 16 is samadha. You mean to brought and put together. This is the definition, what we call English translation that the definition that you give for compose.
Put together.
Brought and put together, isn't it?
Oh, that one is Asma Kumara's translation. My translation doesn't have the together, because that is his translation of the sum. My translation of the sum is properly brought and placed.
Properly bought and paid.
No
placed.
together.
Okay, no together. But it sounds to me it should come first before the mind become unified, because you have to brought and placed properly. Then only you can unify the mind. If you have already that, because just now Bhante Sumana also mentioned to unify mean to put together and not to what did you mean already? To become one. To become one. Then if you have already become one, why do you need to brought and place properly? So I think for quite some time I couldn't understand this.
Maybe, just maybe, they are not actually steps, but they are just 4 ways of saying the same thing.
Maybe. Well, the way I understand it is that chitta is a blanket term for many things happening together, because the mind has got different departments, and each department has got its own job and function. So to unify the mind means to unify all these functions, these departments together, so that they work in unity. And then the last one is, when they work in unity, then only can you properly place the mind wherever you want to. Now, If you look at the normal sutta passages about developing of the jhanas and the psychic powers, often you will see the Buddha telling the disciple to develop the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. When it comes to the fourth jhana, he says now that the mind has become imperturbable and is bright and malleable, all right? Then he directs his attention to this and to that, right? Which means to say, that is the time when the mind is ready to be placed where you want it to. So the element of placing it in where you want to is actually another function. That's not a function of samadhi. That's a function of maybe manasikara. But samadhi is when the mind is ready. You properly bring it so that it can be placed where you want it to. So before you do that, you must make sure that all the departments are in unity, working well together before you can do that. Okay, this is only a Theravada.
Bhante, I just wonder whether I can interpret it in this way. When we in our practice, we need to steady the mind and then settle it. And the unification here is actually not just getting away of the other thoughts and just having one thought. I think the unification here basically means that when there is something, actually is the unification of the mind means it becomes one, so that how would I say? I mean the mind and whatever object that we have, the mind is actually the subject of the mind, right? So whatever that we have there, it actually becomes one, so that there is actually no identification of between object and subject already at that point of time. So when there is no identification between whether it's object or subject, and then the mind is then very composed, because you cannot actually identify the subject and the object.
Okay, that's one interpretation. Non-duality. The Advaita Wadins will love you. That is exactly the Visuddhi Magga idea of jhana. To them, jhana is absorption. When the mind is totally absorbed into its object, there's no longer a subject and object duality. You're not even aware that you are aware. You're not even aware that you're looking at an object. Because the moment you're aware that you're looking at an object, you're already not absorbed. You're already out. Absorbed means you're inside there and you cannot see what's happening. Yeah. So that's why Bhante Gunaratana says, mind that is absorption, cannot know what's happening outside it. So that's not the right concentration. If you cannot see what's happening around you, how can you see conditionality? How can you relate things together? Impossible. You know? But, as you say, there's another interpretation. That's why maybe people who meditate according to the Visuddhi Magga understanding of jhana, practice jhana first, and then when their mind is, as you say, unified, then they come out of jhana and they make use of the concentration or whatever to help them to look at sankharas, maybe in a deeper way, in a more penetrative way. So very simple. Right. Everything is inside the sutta. Okay, if you look at the popular notions, you got all these fancy ideas of what the aim of Samatha and Vipassana is, what the objects are, and so forth. But if you look carefully at the object of Samatha, which is found in actually the steps itself, nothing is mentioned, isn't it? Grammatically, the object of those 4 steps is the mind. How to steady the mind, how to make the mind settle down, how to unify the mind, how to compose the mind. Or, literally, how to make the mind stand properly, how to make the mind sit properly, how to unify it, how to bring and place it properly. Right? So, grammatically, the object is the mind. But for the practice of samatha, it is not stated what the yogi is supposed to be attentive to. paying attention to. Right? Is there? No, nothing stated about kasina, nothing stated about breathing, nothing stated about Brahma Vihara, nothing stated of visualization, or chanting, mantra, or nothing stated about concept or ultimate reality. Is there anything stated? No. Because it's not stated, then you have wide possibilities. It could be anything, as long as the mind can settle down. Right? This is a very important point. And this comes straight from the sutta. Number one, it's not implied. It's there in the sutta because it's not stated. It could be anything. Okay? This is a very important point. Even if you cannot understand the rest of the workshop, if you understand this, that's good enough. Okay, and also another thing about samatha is that there are 4 steps involved. Yeah? The first one is to make the mind stand properly. Second is to make it sit properly. Third is to unify it. And the last one is to place it properly. Bring and place it properly. The last part, katang cittang samadhatabam. Samadhatabam is actually a verb form of samadhi. All right? So, samadhi has been variously translated as concentration. And here in this book, it is translated as composure. But I wonder whether it really reflects what the word literally means. Literally, it means bring and place properly. But composure does not really give you any idea of bringing and placing. Composure is about not affected by your emotions, not ruffled, keeping calm and cool, right? Not? So it's still not a very good translation. Right, so I want you all to think about it in this workshop. And one of the questions will be later, what do you propose, for a better translation of samadhi? The end result of samatha is also very clearly stated. It is internal tranquility of mind. Nothing mentioned about jhana, right? Anything else, it's just tranquility of mind, whatever level of tranquility it could be. Now, looking at vipassana, the object of vipassana is also very clear. Right? What is the object? Sankhara. I have deliberately not translated sankhara because it will be another section later on that we are going to investigate to find out what actually it means. Because although the Buddha was very specific and precise in his definition of vipassana, in that it is a process of investigation. How you view sankhara, how you investigate it, how you see sankhara clearly, distinctly. But he did not define what is sankhara. And when you look in your book, on the section, what are sankhara, or what is sankhara, you'll see that there are only 2 or 3 references from the suttas. Very meager references from the suttas, which do not really give you a very precise definition of what sankhara is. It gives you some hints and clues. You can try to figure out what sankhara is from those few suttas. Okay, another thing is, looking at this 3-step process of vipassana, we can also, get a lot of information from that. Now, how does one view sankhara? How are sankharas to be viewed? Now, this word, katang sankhara databba, in Pali, the databba comes from the same root as ditti. You know what's ditti? Samadditti, right view. Right? Samadditti is right view. Databba is to be viewed. Okay. To be viewed, it means that how are sankharas to be regarded? That means to say, how to interpret sankhara. Not only do you observe sankhara, not only do you watch and pay attention to sankhara, you have to look at it in a certain way. How do you view sankhara? How do you regard them? And again, this is not stated in this root sutta. So we have to do some Sherlock Holmes, hunting around different suttas to find out, now how do we view Sankhara to call it Vipassana? Okay, that's what this whole workshop is all about. Yeah, we're trying to go back to the roots to find out what it is, because we've got so many opinions and views and interpretations of what Vipassana is. So let's go back to the roots and check. If you really look at the course book material, it's really very interesting, Do some detective work. Look around. I've already compiled all of them for you. It took me several months to do that. Luckily, we have digital technology. I can just key in a word and look for it, for words, how they occur in the whole Tipitaka. So it's quite a comprehensive research that I've done. Well, I'm assuming that the search engine I use is correctly programmed. That is the CST, the Chatasangayana, Tipitaka, and the digital Pali reader. Okay? So that's number one, how to view Sankhara. Actually, this short phrase is pregnant with a lot of meanings. How to view Sankhara indicates that you need to have some theory. Right or not? If you don't have any theory behind you, you look at, provided you know what Sankhara is. Say you already know what Sankhara is. You look at Sankhara. So what are you going to do? What is Sankhara? How are you going to interpret them? No, it's just like somebody sends you an email in a format alien to Word. You cannot open it. For example, if I send you an ODT document, you have a Word program, you may not be able to open it. Yeah? You need to have the right program, the right software to be able to open that. Similarly, you need to have the right background information to process Sankhara in order to call it Vipassana. So this is number one. First step of Vipassana is to have theoretical knowledge, background information. The second step is how to investigate Sankhara. Okay, you already know the theory, you're supposed to view it in that way. How do we put it into practice? Okay, that's the second step. How to put it into practice. First is the theory, second is how to apply, and the third step, how are Sankharas to be seen distinctly. For me, the third step is actually a result of the first two. The first two are the causes, the third one is the effect. When you have the background information, the correct information, and you have the technology to apply it in practice, then as you do it again and again and again and again, one fine day, insight will arise. Aha, it's like that. Knowing it intellectually is one thing. Actually experiencing the truth of the theory behind it is another. So the third step of Vipassana is the intuitive process that comes about because you did your homework, right? Because you investigated in the proper way. If you had skipped step 1 and 2, you cannot go to 3. And the end result or the goal of Vipassana is distinct seeing of things through higher wisdom. So distinct seeing comes about through higher wisdom. And this higher wisdom is not just intellectual wisdom, but it is intuitive wisdom.